All right, so let's get started with the webinar. So the situation today, as we all know what the situation is, it doesn't need much definition or much context, but I still thought it's better to put that in context because given what we are facing today, we need to talk a little about what is going on. The impact of COVID-19 seems unprecedented. There's a huge trail of infection and deaths that are happening across all countries. So it has never happened in the past, in the last at least known century. The closest reference that people find refer to is the 1933 year of depression or the World War. So it's that big, that serious. Okay? The second point I'm saying is governments, all the other agencies and companies today are all engaged 24/7 in crisis management. Okay? The businesses are all jolted today. None of them, I don't think there is any segment of the economy, any business that says today, if you ask them that they're not impacted, everybody is impacted out of the blue. And all of this has come out of a sudden, right? It has not been something which has been planned or something that has been happening over a period of time and suddenly it hits you. No, it's all happened within a span of 6 weeks. Things have just come to a standstill. Businesses are struggling to find out their bearings, how to run the business, how to get started, how to get rebooted. They don't have a clue, and everybody is looking at each other for answers, for funding, etc. Now the direct impact of this has been that we see job losses in millions and millions across cities, across countries. There are huge queues that we see in front of government departments to apply for job roles. So unprecedented again. And the worst is today, from what I hear in the news and from what I've been reading over the last 6 weeks, that economies of countries, all countries, particularly whether it's developing countries or developed countries, none have been spared. All of them are expected or to shrink between 2% to 8%. And that kind of a shrink is very huge because it impacts every business, every aspect of the economy. And revival, when it gets to 2% and between 2% and 8%, revival of the economy can be very, very slow. It can be very painful because this kind of depth nobody has seen till now. People are living in fear and uncertainty. All of us, including you, me, everyone is living in fear and uncertainty. So it looks very scary when you look at it from an outside in view. It's very scary. It's very uncertain. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Nobody else is knowing what happens tomorrow. We're all reading news and data from different sources and trying to collate and figure out what direction is the economy taking. Even the so-called subject matter experts on economy, on matters of finance, on matters in government, specialized in government and foreign affairs, if you speak to them, they will tell you, we don't know, really don't know the bottom of it, right? What will come up? Whether is it going to sink further or will there be further aftershocks is something that we don't really know. So there is a lot of uncertainty. So it looks like a very dark alley to us. It looks like there is no light at the end of the tunnel. So let's quickly look at what is the impact on business. Right now, we've seen the global picture across the world. Now, let's try to break it down and see what is the impact on businesses, individuals or organizations that are in their own business, and what is a business? What is happening there? You see, there is a diminishing revenue and profit because nobody knows really whatever I've experienced today, will this continue further? Am I going to still face further losses in my business or will my business improve? Is this something temporary or is this something permanent? We don't know because you cannot visit shopping malls, you cannot go anywhere to buy things. Even the e-commerce delivery is shut down in many places or there is very limited service. So every company, every organization today is facing a situation of diminishing revenue, which naturally impacts the bottom line as well. There is a lot of stress on working capital to keep the wheels running. businesses have to run. So businesses generally do not shut overnight. They all come with a vision, with a plan for the future that they need to keep running the business for a very long time, and that is their passion. But then you also need working capital to run your business. Okay, the money is stuck with either your supplier, the money is stuck with your banks, or the money is stuck somewhere else, but money is not flowing in. But you have to pay your employees, you have to pay your customers, you have to pay your suppliers, you have to pay for your rentals, electricity, and any other resources that you're using. So even if you have to run your business on a continuous basis, you need inflow of money, and that is where the challenge comes. On one side, your capital is already locked. On the other hand, you don't have working capital to pay to keep your business running, and your customers are not able to pay. There are several customers who are unable to pay, and they're asking for asking for either delayed payments or payment in installments. So there is considerable stress of money flow in the system. It's become extremely challenging now to forecast revenue and profit. In normal times, people can forecast based on past models, based on past historical analysis of similar events that would have happened. It is possible to build data models and forecast whether this is going to be something short-lived, and if so, how will the economy revive, which sectors will first revive, and what is the cascade effect of it, and how particularly your line of business, right, whatever your line of business is, how that will really fare. So in a given situation where currently itself you're facing problem and you do not really find a way of how to forecast revenue and profit, it becomes very challenging to know what the future holds for us. And to top it all, what we're seeing now is that the service delivery models itself are getting challenged. So there was, and many of the companies who have been in business for years have perfected, near perfect the service delivery models. Okay, they have been very consistent. A lot of innovation has happened, and things were working very well. But in the current context of social distancing, wearing masks, okay, using sanitizers, waiting in long queues, things are changing because there is primarily a trust deficit that is developing in the ecosystem. Okay, and therefore, how do you run your business is going to become a challenge. Packages cannot be delivered, packages need to be sanitized, getting food even to your home can become challenging, right? The traditional modes of delivery may go off. So people are really struggling. How do I now deliver my packages, or how do I deliver value to my customers? All these questions are cropping up. And further, to add to the already bad things that are happening to us, there is long-term impact because of geopolitical realignments that are happening. Okay? So you see several things you might be reading, a lot of analytical reports that might be coming up. There is a lot of underlying shifts that are happening in the.
Hi Vijay, your voice is not very audible.
Okay. Okay. Is it same now as well?
Better.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. But I didn't do anything. Probably it's the GoToMeeting platform that may be experiencing a dip. Perhaps there's a lot of overload on it, on the platform, perhaps, I'm guessing. But my mic is very close to me. Is that better by any chance?
Yeah, I mean, it's better. It's not very audible though, but I think it's good to continue.
Okay, thank you. So the long-term impact due to geopolitical realignments that's happening, you're seeing the war of, how people are moving away from China. The European Union seems to be breaking away. Germany, the leader in the European Union, people are expecting Germany to do a lot of things, take leadership. But the problem today is each country is so focused in getting its own feet up. Okay, it's wanting to get in its own people and its own businesses up, that they're not able to collaborate, they're not able to work with other countries. So kind of Okay, I won't say in real words protectionism, but some kind of protectionism is growing in, because every country now is devastated to the level that they cannot globalize. Globalization, or collaborating with other countries, helping other countries to that extent that was in the past, will become a challenge. And every country, in my opinion, from what I read and what I see, will look to protect its economy, its people, its businesses, its job. And therefore, this overarching word, overarching term that was going around of globalization might take, a beating for a few years, and maybe things will, get re-engineered or revived subsequently. So therefore, because of this protectionism mechanism that come in, where everybody has to definitely take charge of their country and their own people, I do see a lot of impact uh, for the longer term in terms of businesses functioning cross country. So um, with that impact on the business, I'm slowly now getting into talking very specifically about the IT engine. Every business today has an IT engine, has a back-end IT that drives its business. Now, and IT is, of course, at once upon a time, IT was seen as an expenditure, but today IT is seen as a vehicle of investment for the company to succeed and maintain its footprint in the marketplace to win over customers. So that's the reason I'm calling the IT engine. So what is the impact on IT engine? Most organizations today, okay, I've been speaking to a few of my friends in the industry, they are focused mostly on business continuity, because the rampage has been so much that they're not able to focus on the future projects or projects that are in the pipeline. They have budgeted for it. Their immediate focus is to ensure that the existing business models that they have, the existing business, whatever they have, that needs to continue and the wheels need to run. At the same time, whatever projects are in the pipeline, which is nearing completion, they want to take that to as early as possible to completion, to some logical end, and bring it there, because they want to take a relook at their whole business model, the service delivery model, their business model, find out what products will work, what will not work, how do they need to re-engineer products, and then come back to to invest within IT. So which means I do foresee, okay, these are my thoughts. I do foresee that many of the contracts with IT service providers will be renegotiated because of the impact that because of the impact company has. Most of the companies who are working with their IT backend providers or IT service providers, I I feel and I think the contracts will be renegotiated. Force majeure clauses may be invoked, prices will be renegotiated, discounts may come up, because companies they have to contain costs. And IT today is definitely one of the biggest consumers of spend within a company, and every company is now trying to contain the spend as much as possible. On one hand, they have a moral obligation to retain their employees, or not to leave them on the streets to the extent possible. On the other hand, they also have to feed their business with working capital. So the only choice for them is to negotiate on the cost, cut down on the IT cost. So many of the contracts that have been signed, long-term contracts that I have signed, I feel and believe that they will be renegotiated with better terms that will fetch value to the business. Workforce optimization plans will be accelerated, that all the IT related workforce will be, the optimization exercise will go on. There will be change to job roles. There will be changes to the jobs will be redesigned. You will see generally organizations have a lot of duplication. So all the IT organizations will take a hard look and look at the workforce optimization plans. You will see there is going to be a demand from the business on the IT backend service providers to implement productivity enhancement measures and techniques, whatever they are. It could be tools, it could be services, it could be the number of hours that people put in. All kind of productivity enhancement measures need to be built in. Okay, I can give many examples. For example, in an agile project today, The average time, the real time that people spend on an agile project is about 25, 26 hours. That's what we calculate when we do a project. But going forward, that may not be the scene. I expect that people would ask for and challenge the IT teams to increase their productivity to at least about 30, 32 hours, because you need to do, that's the only way you can manage your cost better. So productivity demands will rise from the IT businesses. New IT investments that go in, okay, all the new IT investments that go in, I believe they will be really a hard look, because projects are generally sanctioned year over year. Business cases are prepared, presented to the sponsors and the management. The business case, there is a certain amount of funding from the businesses, and then based on that, the projects are sanctioned. But now, given the situation today, all businesses will look pause their investments for now, and all of those business cases, all of those investments, people will be taking a very hard look at it, and case by case basis, I think the projects will get approved. I'm not saying, I don't expect that projects will not ever get sanctioned, because IT is the backbone that will help the company to do much better and overcome this kind of crisis. That's what they should be doing. So I don't expect companies to pull back to zero or near zero their IT investments, but there will be enough of scrutiny on the projects that will be approved, or business cases that will go into reality. Now, some of the investment areas that I foresee personally is on cloud computing, because there are many companies still yet are in premise on their own data centers, their inbuilt data centers, and that adds a huge infrastructure cost, maintenance cost, etc. to them. And this is the time that companies will have to think seriously to adopt cloud computing and move to a SaaS or a service as a SaaS kind of a platform, or a PaaS kind of a platform, so that the applications can move onto the cloud. And moving onto the cloud gives substantial benefits, productivity benefits, efficiency, okay, and scaling opportunity for the organizations, dynamic scaling opportunities for the organizations. Okay, the investments can be better paced off. You don't need to invest upfront on building infrastructure. You can rather space your investments on the cloud infrastructure as and when your demand rises, and then scale them back when the demand goes back. So, and maintaining IT infrastructure cannot be a core business for any business enterprise. They would like to focus more on their application. They would like to focus more on their customer centricity, supply chain, getting their businesses on the run, rather than focusing on building IT infrastructure. So cloud computing, I guess, which has matured over the years, at least over the last 5-6 years, whether it is Windows Azure or AWS or Google Cloud, all of them have acquired a great levels of maturity over the last 6-7 years, and the platform has stabilized a lot. And there are enough of features that each of these platforms have. In fact, I was speaking to one of my friends in one of these big companies about the impact of COVID, and I was surprised to hear that the entire cloud team that is working in the organization has been beefed up, because they are seeing at least a 15 to 20% demand during the last 8 weeks. Okay, 15 to 20% demand from their company, from their customers, to adopt cloud computing. So the IT, I'm talking about companies like Google, Amazon, and Azure. I was speaking to one of the companies, one of my friend who works as a very senior professional there. He says he's been getting a spike from his customers, and he's beefing up his team in the cloud space to add up, to maintain those infrastructure, to spin off new services and additional expand the infrastructure. So that is the kind of demand that is coming on the cloud computing side. Application consolidation and retirement will be definitely an impact, a fallout or an impact because of cloud. Because as you move to the cloud, you will have to take a hard look, or companies will take a hard look on application consolidation and trying to identify really needs to get onto what really needs to be maintained and what really needs to be retired. So I believe that a lot of cost that bleeds in maintaining legacy applications which have been there for the last 10, 12 years, and all those apps will be asked to be retired in the next 12 to 18 months, so that only the standard business applications or cutting edge applications will try to subsume all those functionality into itself and move on to the cloud. The third one theme that I see is process automation, or what we call robotic process automation, which is called RPA, and intelligent decision making. So that today, a great deal of, as you know, we are flooded by a lot of data all around us, and decision making today is becoming more and more difficult given the circumstances. And since decision making has to be very agile and very fluid, I do believe that people will slowly start adopting AI, ML based systems. It is in the nascent stages as of now. There are adaptations that are happening in the industry, but I believe that this will start accelerating, because if businesses have to be very nimble and very agile in the future, given the global environment, they will have to rely not just on standard reporting dashboard kind of systems which collect data and you process it and give, but you need to be able to process those experiences, customer preferences, customer purchase history, and make some very intelligent intelligent decision making, and that will naturally happen. So I would see a lot of investment going, because ultimately if the businesses have to survive and be successful in the long term, I feel that you need to be able to invest a lot of your money and time in intelligent decision making, which is typically AI and ML, and robotic process automation, because a lot of traditional or repetitive processes that are happening today within companies, it could be maybe an invoice processing or order placement or transferring data or payroll processing. There are a lot of manual jobs that surround it, and a lot of people, there are quite a lot of people working in that segment. And today the RPA segment is slowly improving. There is a lot of traction that is coming up, and I believe this will be one of the greenfield areas where people will start investing in, so that the regular run-of-the-mill jobs that happen in a company on a day-to-day basis, where you need to transfer data, or you need to do some payroll processing, or you need to scrape data from multiple websites and processes and create a dashboard. These kind of odd jobs, or even, for example, in call centers, you will find RPA automating most of this kind of repetitive jobs that happen. So that is another focus area that I see. Data security, because you're moving on to the cloud and you are consolidating applications. You, of course, today you have private cloud, you have public cloud, you have a lot of data security, but many companies and organizations, like for example banks or financial institutions, will be definitely concerned about data security. And this particular field of data security will gain a lot of prominence in the coming months and years, and you will see people adopting a lot of technologies like blockchain, for example, today is catching up. And because we see that there is a trust deficit in the industry with respect to breaches of data security that's happening, and therefore people will start adopting blockchain kind of technologies to be able to secure the data very well, so that it cannot be mutated ever. Once it's there and blockchain is implemented, the data cannot be mutated. Nobody can ever get access to the data. So broadly, I see these four themes that are that is where the IT investments will be pushed in. Now, what does that show us in terms of accelerating trends within the system ecosystem? Now, on the technology side, based on what I just shared with you, on the technology side, I would see a lot of traction coming up in the AI and machine learning, because the traditional way of data sifting, data cleansing, and then creating those data marts, analyzing tons and tons of data, and enabling business to take decisions. becomes little tedious, and they're not having too much of intelligence, because it's all based on pre-written logics. So AI and ML will help these organizations to collect this data, create experiences over a period of time, and come up with potential use cases, or sorry, potential scenarios, and predict what the customer is likely to do. We are already seeing an AI ML being implemented in the Amazon website, where you see those views coming up when you buy something, and say, hey, this is what other customers viewed, this is what other customers bought. So this is not just based on simple analytics. It is purely based on AI ML, because they analyze a lot of trends, geographical trends. They analyze demographic trends and find out customers of similar profile, what did they buy during this time, or during this time of the year, or during a festival time, and then appropriately recommend the right products. So there is a lot of traction that will come in the B2C in the B2C area. I do see a lot of AI and ML related projects coming up. So I was reading an article just about a couple of weeks back on Gartner, and it tells that there is roughly about 2.3 million jobs is the expected kind of jobs that will be created in the year 2020-21. Now, yes, this can be questionable given the crisis. We can ask ourselves, hey, will that be 2.3 million now or more? But my guess is that anytime there is a crisis in the industry, there is always opportunity only for the better. So I don't suspect this number of 2.3 million. I do believe that companies will be more careful about their investments, and they would like to invest in technologies or in services that will help them to sustain or be alive for the next 10 years, which means that they will have to definitely invest in AI and ML, which means this job number will hold. Cloud computing, again, it's expected about $240 billion is what the business expected in 2019-20, and it is expected to be doubling because of the maturity of the platforms that's happening. Many small and medium-sized businesses, today that are doing, businesses from about, let's say, $20 million to almost about $200-300 million worth of business in a year. They can't manage their own IT infrastructure. It is a drain of their resources and time and people to be working on managing their infrastructure. So therefore, it is expected that this $240 billion business will actually rise. So there is a lot of scope of or opportunities that we see in cloud computing. As I said, our and as I explained in the previous slide, will definitely see traction, because repetitive jobs is a waste of human resources. We'd rather redeploy such human resources into doing something more productive that's going to happen. And naturally, the data security aspect, which is one of the most the deep concerns that people have. Individuals, companies, banks, financial institutions, real estate, you will see most of these aspects will start implementing blockchain in the coming years. There is always, there are a lot of companies that are doing proof of concepts currently. I know of a couple of companies in the financial space, in the pharma space, that are investing money today in creating proof of concepts, and their expectation is in the current financial year, which is the April to March of 2020-21, they do want to see a few use cases being implemented using blockchain going live. So it's a year of reckoning, year of learning and reckoning for as far as blockchain is concerned. On the process side, most companies will have to or will see an increase in adoption of agile methodologies, because customers who are paying IT companies money for their projects will demand and ask for faster value realization. Okay? They can't wait for 12 months, 18 months, 20 months to get a project to see the green light or see it out of the door. So companies that are not today using agile methodologies, or perhaps which are partially using agile methodologies, they will be constrained, and I feel they will be pushed to use agile methodologies for faster value realization. It is good for the IT companies, as service delivery companies, as well as it is also good for the business as well. The good thing about agile methodology is it brings the customer and their stakeholders and the IT companies or the service delivery team to on a common page, Okay, it connects them together, it binds them together. That way, it helps for quicker value realization. You will see that the investment that you made is really helping you to get what you want. So I do see that the life cycle of project delivery needs to be accelerated. We cannot continue to be on this 12 months, 18 months long project windows. People will expect to see that I will not release the next quarter's money until you show me this milestone delivery. Please show me my, for example, it could be that, show me my order creation process, then I will release you the money for the next set of processes. It's not going to be month on month, you raise invoice and somebody's going to pay. I think that process will slowly, people will put a hold on it because money is not going to come easy for anybody. Increase in adoption of DevOps. This is also going to happen because you need to downsize your development costs, and therefore there will be a lot of stress and a lot of focus on automating the entire development lifecycle, so that you're right from the time you check in your code till the entire deployment happens into production. The entire process is automated. It also brings your development teams and IT development and post-production support teams together to work together. And many of the manual processes that happen today, the errors that are created within the system, and people working unproductively to try to create a build and then deploy and seeing errors, that has to go. So companies that have been slow in adoption or going slow today will see a lot of push on this aspect. Automation, which goes with the development costs as well. So QA automation, wherever there is possible automation, there will be a stress on automation because IT companies will also have to look at how to best use their money. They also have to find out modes of efficiency. So repetitive tasks that are there, right? You need to be able to automate without having to depend on people to run test cases after test cases. Now, the most interesting part is on the people side, which is what I think many of you would be expecting to know. How does it impact people? We've seen technology, we've seen people, process. How does it impact me as an individual? My belief is, personal belief, again, I could be wrong, right? The gig economy will come into prominence because there are certain aspects within when you run an IT project that you don't need full-time people all the time, right? For example, an architect. An architect is required whenever you have a new project that is coming into play. You need an architect for about maybe 6 months or so. Okay. After that, the level of engagement of an architect definitely goes down from maybe 100% to, let's say, 60%, and then maybe to 30%. And so similarly, you may have people like agile coaches, for example, or project managers, for example, who will be required in the early stages of the project to put things on the track, and subsequently the teams will self-manage. Now, once you start having agile methodologies in place, you will automatically see a lot of empowerment within the team. The teams will not need the kind of micromanagement or micro guidance on a day-to-day basis. Things are expected to run without a day-to-day tracking, day-to-day monitoring from project managers or senior people. So I do feel that companies slowly, IT companies slowly will adopt. This is there in the US. I know too for sure that the gig economy is functioning in the US, but I'm not sure to what extent or what depth it is there. But I do believe that there will be a takeoff point in the gig economy where people will be called in on a contractual basis for a few months or few weeks or maybe 8 months, and they would do their job and then exit to take on another assignment. So it will be an assignment based aspect. The next one is, I do feel again that there will be a push for the offshore work component. Companies that are today invested a lot on on-site work and offshore work, that part of the work is happening at the customer site, part of the work is happening on the offshore side. In order to contain costs, people will definitely look at the option, can this be done here? Can this be pushed offsite to a remote center? And what cost benefits will that give? So today you see a lot of people from any project, many projects working on site. The ratio today could be in the form of, let's say, 30% on site or 20% on site to about 70-80% offshore. Now, can that ratio be altered? Can that balance be altered to give better value to the customer as well as better productivity and better efficiency for the IT organization. I do feel there is an opportunity that companies will explore that option of balancing that workload between on-site and offshore in a much better to gain better cost efficiency. The line between QA and dev will get blurred because investment into QA today, in fact, this has been happening and gaining ground. This is not a new thing. There is an undercurrent that has been happening at least for the last 4 or 5 years. I know where the focus on QA is going down, whereas the focus on dev is increasing. We want to make sure that what gets done right, what gets done the first time should get right. We don't want developers and architects to be able to create code with a lot of bugs and throw it over the wall to the QA, and the QA taking the pains of finding bugs, and then there is a back and forth action happening, multiple cycles of releases happening between dev and QA. So there is a I do feel that in the coming months and years, there will be a focus where on the dev to do things right, and the QA will just act as a formal gate of maybe just doing a sanity test, just to make sure you have a third party check on it. And QA engineers who are today doing UI testing or functional testing, I think and I believe that that kind of work should be or will be transferred to the business analyst, because the BA is more familiar with the use cases and the user scenarios and very close to the customer. You don't need exclusively a QA engineer to do that. And the QA engineer can be redeployed to do very special tests, like maybe a load test, a performance test, a security testing. Okay, these are crash tests. So these kind of very specialized tests can be done by the QA engineers, whereas the regular QA that we do can be offloaded back to the business analyst, with a lot of emphasis on the dev to also make sure that they understand what they're doing and do not generally write code and throw it over the wall to the QA. That kind of culture will slowly change. There will be a lot of accountability coming over the dev and architects to make sure that whatever they build not just for 1 or 2 use cases. They make sure that they build for the entire thing, and they do the testing by themselves. There is no need for necessarily a QA engineer to test and give them back bugs. So you will see engineering, the dev test engineering taking a different form altogether, because this is again about building efficiency in the system, right? It's not about disrespecting the QA role, but you need to build efficiency in the delivery system, the delivery engine. This back and forth action, it contributes a lot of unwanted stress and pain, and also bring inefficiency in the system. So that will do. Pure PM jobs, I think, which are pure project managers, right, who do schedule management, who do PMO kind of work, preparing status reports, monitoring the project, will slowly fade away, or they will lose they will not be too much of importance on it, because if you're adopting agile methodologies and if you're adopting DevOps, then obviously you will see that a lot of the PM related responsibilities will be shared by the core engineering team, by your BAs, by the customers, by the Scrum Master. So the pure PM jobs will slowly start fading away, and those responsibilities can go into if you're adopting Scrum, it might go into the Scrum Master, and you will see somebody taking a Scrum Master role, and that's already happening. So these 4 big shifts I see coming up in the upcoming months and years. Acceleration and remote working, adoption of collaboration tools and services. So this is a new thing that we're seeing today, that working from home is going to become the order of the day in the coming days, because as companies grow in size, IT companies grow in size, there is a lot of demand on real estate, a lot of demand on working space. But given the situation today, companies are realizing that in order to cut costs, in order to drive efficiency system, so that people don't have to travel long distances in buses for 2 hours, 1.5 hours, they lose that time. Accelerate the remote working model, make it more efficient. So there are companies today, even in India, I know, who are looking at creating an ecosystem where at any point in time, only 50% of their staff are in offices, 50% of the staff are working at home, and they want to bring in a rotation policy that every 3 months, one set of team will work from home, one set of team will be working from the workplace, and they want to fine tune that delivery model. This might take time. It has just now been, we are forced into that situation today because we're not able to go to work. And there is considerable amount of flux that is happening in the collaboration tools. Many people have now adopted Microsoft Teams. They have adopted Zoom. They are figuring out how to work together, collaborate, and brainstorm and all that. So over a period of time, you will see a lot of acceleration happening in and encouragement coming up in people working remote and being able to be still efficient on their projects. So that will be the impact on the people side. Now, what can IT organizations really do to manage this COVID-19 wave, right? So this is the time, as you know, I've been involved, I was there with the 2001 crisis, 2008, 2013. I've seen three different crises and I have emerged out of this crisis, and I've seen companies also emerging out of it. So whatever I'm saying here is based out, it's not just I'm speaking in thin air. I'm basing this on what I've seen, what I've heard, and what I've experienced during the three big downturns that I've seen in 2001, 8, and 13. And these are from pure experience. So one is that companies have to continue to believe in their vision and maintain focus on the long term. When I say long term, look at least 12 months from now, 18 months from now. Yes, this is a very, very trying period for all of us. Never have felt this kind of an impact. It is definitely life changing, but do not lose focus in the vision and long term success of your project. The success mantra here is adaptation, reorientation, and transform. The best thing that you can do today, companies can do today, is to adapt, because you can't force yourself to change the situation today. The situation is existing. You have to find ways and means to adapt to the given situation, reorient your approach, reorient your strategies, transform. So be open to change. Those companies and individuals or managements that are open to change, that are amenable to change, you will see those companies coming out. I'm not saying they'll come out unscathed, but yes, there will be some bruise, there will be some loss, there will be some loss of business, loss of revenue, but most companies exist for the long term. They're not here for fly by night, right? Those companies start to exist for the long term. I want to be in the business for 20, 30, 40 years. And with that vision, you will come out little bit of bruises, but change is important. So keep eyes, mind, and ears open, figure out what's happening, and be quick enough to adapt. The more quick you are today, the more proactive you are today, the faster you will change. For now, you need to implement risk mitigation plans. Perform a SWOT analysis, because whatever strengths you hold today, we need to really look at, given the future trends, given the future delivery models, are the business delivery models are being changed, the funding models will be changed, customer interaction will be changed. So given the context in which your company is going to operate in a B2B or a B2C environment, you need to look at you need to redo your SWOT and see where you stand today. Continuing to do what you do, yes, you have excelled, but unfortunately, the environment under us or around us has changed so drastically that we cannot control that. So, in order to know how things will, you have to know how things will work out in the future, and accordingly adapt and transform. And before you transform, you have to do a SWOT analysis to see, what your core strengths and weaknesses are, what opportunities does it give you. Most important, maintain connect with the customers. This is the time when you should not sit back in our offices. We should connect with our customers, people who are in business and running organization, delivery managers, or CEOs, CTOs. They all should connect with the customers, understand what they are thinking, understand their pain points, understand what direction they want to take their organization, and rework your value proposition and message. Okay? If you don't do that, if you don't rework your value proposition, there could be a possibility. I mean, there is definitely a possibility of struggle, because companies are expecting, as they are changing, they are also expecting their partner organizations to further align with them, right? So therefore, unless you talk to the customer, unless you engage with them, you will really not know what is happening to them, uh, what direction they are thinking to go forward. How can you align your business plans or your offerings to suit them? So there is definitely a need to rework the value proposition. Okay. And I've seen this happening because I was working with the sales teams. I was a pre-sales as a pre-sales support. I worked very closely with frontline sales managers, and I know how that connection with customers, changes your mindset and expectation that they have, and how that feedback goes back into the company's senior management team to rebuild those new strategies. So the strategies and plans will have to be reworked. The way that you're doing business today with the customers may need to change, because in line with the market realities we are seeing today. Otherwise, if you continue to do the same thing that we are doing today, it's not going to work. You have to rework the strategy. So if you see many of these top Fortune 500 companies that are successful today, it is not that they have not gone through this ups and downs. It is not that they have money power, but it is about how they understand their customers very well, how they rework their strategies, how they coach and train their internal sales and pre-sales team to change the language. In fact, even the language that you use with your customers will be different. Okay? That's why I'm saying the value proposition and messaging needs to change. Increase efficiency and agility in the delivery engine. We spoke in detail in the previous slide. But whatever is your delivery engine, even if it's a product management company or a product company, you need to really think about how you can increase the efficiency and agility in the delivery engine. Whatever that may be, productivity. I'm not necessarily saying that give off people. That's a very difficult decision to do. But I'm sure if you take a hard look at it, you will find a lot of places where you can build efficiency and agility. Because customers expect agility, customers expect custom solutions, customer expects you to come with out of the box ideas, and the that's where the what you call the mojo lies, right? So you have to unleash a lot of innovation and creativity, because what your customers and your suppliers will like about you is how you innovate currently in the current context. How do you unleash your creativity and carve out a new niche? What is going to bring about that change that you expect. So you have to reinvent yourself. You have to discover your mojo. You have to really go back and think hard of how to carve out this niche. And the SWOT analysis, connecting with customers, are the two tools that I think will help you to understand in depth about what the market expects from you, what customer expects from you. And since you are in the long run, using that innovation and creativity and aligning with those customer expectations, you will see long-term success. You will be able to ride out this current COVID-19 wave in about 6 months, 8 months, or maximum a year, not beyond that. Now, how can IT professionals really ride this wave? Okay, now we spoke about companies. I'm spending the next 5 minutes on the IT professionals. Connect your job or role with the big picture. That's very important, because many professionals, we're all working on projects. There are sometimes 200 people, 100 people, 50 people working on a project, and nobody really knows what this project is all about, what this customer is all about. Today, if you're working on something, please spend time in understanding which industry segment are you doing. Are you doing something for the retail, for the banking, for insurance? Understand your industry landscape. What is the insurance domain all about? What is the banking domain all about? Don't be too logged into or siloed into your day-to-day job. My job is to code, I'm coding. My job is to design, I'm designing. Yes, you're doing because that's your strength. That is what you expected. But you should also know your industry landscape. You should know your customer ecosystem as very, very well. Because tomorrow, if you go for an interview, even for a job, somebody asks you, hey, tell me what you think about the insurance domain. Tell me what are the big changes coming in the retail domain. You should be able to give out or explain to them or express yourself, right? So understanding your customer ecosystem, that you currently are spending time in a project or projects, or you're building a product for some customer, understand that customer ecosystem very well, be able to articulate that very well. connect your role and job to see how are you really enhancing the customer's ecosystem, or what is that you're contributing. You're not contributing code, you're not contributing lines of code. That is not what is it. You need to see how you're contributing value to the customer, and that is a language you need to learn. Please do a SWOT matrix for yourself and chart out a future plan. Why am I saying do a SWOT matrix? Because many of us have been doing the traditional job because we got sucked into a day-to-day job. We go to office, we come back, we spend, we attend calls, we work, and we've been working like this for years and years. We really don't know what our core strengths are. We really don't know what our weaknesses are, because we've been so engrossed in our day-to-day work. I don't think any of us, perhaps, or many of us, right, would not have spent that valuable time in doing a reassessment of ourselves. Where do I stand in this industry? What are the trends that are happening? How can I catch up with that? Am I meant for that technology or not? Can I learn that? Can I change my track? Unless you know that, you will not be able to take a decision yourself. Stay close to technology, develop broad skills. What do I mean by this? That many of us in the industry, particularly in the IT industry, once you get to a little senior level, right, you start managing people, you start talking to customers, you spend more time in front of your customers or sales or whatever. But you lose touch with technology. So people who have grown up and using technology, you need to be very close to technology. Only then you will be able to, move across jobs easily. The more senior you are, generally the tendency is to, once you become people managers, or you get to very senior level, you generally lose touch with technology. So it is better, because we are in a technology industry, it is imperative that we still touch very close to the technology, understand what is happening, understand what those user scenarios are, and see how we can help. Develop broad tech skills, right? Which means don't be too siloed into one single stream. If you look at how you can spread yourself across multiple, learn. For example, you can learn deployment, you can learn build automation. If you know Java, you can learn Python. If you know Python, you can learn PHP. Now, the more broader you are, the better opportunities you get. The more siloed you are, the lesser the opportunity you have. And this is the general trend. And we generally, it is not to say that you want to be spread way too thin and don't know, you don't know detail about anything, but you don't want to get slaughtered saying I'm a PHP developer, I am a Ruby developer, I've been in this industry for 10 years, I know Ruby, but do I know anything else? No, I've not learned it. But that then limits your opportunities for others to look at you, because people will think, hey, this guy is not, or this individual is not being, has not attempted to go beyond their comfort zone. So the more broader you are and you know a few technologies, if not full, but if you know even 50, 60, 40%, you will have a better chance, because companies would like to see individuals being better utilized across multiple areas, rather than using only, because hiring a PHP developer and then I don't have PHP projects, what do I do with the developer, right? I can't secure projects for them. So whereas the utilization will go up and you will be valued as an individual as well if you develop broad. So what we call T-shapes. Look at from this perspective that you need to try to learn new technologies, obtain certifications. Certifications are very valuable, particularly from mainstream universities, or big organizations. Right, you can always get certifications in Azure or AWS, AI and ML. So all these areas that we spoke about earlier, there are a lot of courses that are available. Online courses are available, even university level 3 months, 6 months programs are available. So you can definitely take one of those courses, get yourself certified. That will stand a better chance. Wherever possible in your work, in your role, once you're able to connect your role with your industry landscape and customer ecosystem, your creativity and innovation will automatically start showing up. You're not waiting for somebody to tell you, hey, can you create the scenario for me? Can you show me this, how this works? Now, if you are not very familiar with how, for example, order management process happens in an industry, how does it happen in a steel industry versus let's say maybe a cement industry? Okay, what are the different changes that are happening in the order management scenario in the industry? If you know all that, you will be able to use your technology knowledge and bring a synergy between the business knowledge and innovation yourself and be able to demonstrate. And once you demonstrate your innovation and creativity, you become a very valued professional. All of us are great professionals, but our value exceeds, okay, beyond beyond what is normally expected once we demonstrate innovation, creativity by ourselves without asking for it. That shows how broad your skills are. That shows how knowledgeable you are about the industry. That shows how connected you are with your customer. Okay, learn and adopt agile, learn and adopt DevOps. If you're not doing automation, DevOps, agile, this is the time to do, because bringing in efficiency, bringing in effectiveness, showing productivity, all this has to happen. Now, adoption, I do agree that adoption of all of these is also dependent on the organizational mandate, the senior management support, the sponsorship that comes along with it. But there is no harm in learning it. There is no harm in adopting it, one of your maybe internal projects or any small project for any customer, and trying to demonstrate the value of it, because most of it is open source. You don't need to necessarily invest money to buy tools and products. You can learn on your own and implement it, of course, with the knowledge of your company, saying that if we want to try this, we want to demonstrate this, and take that position of leadership within your organization. Okay, the last thing that I would stress on is pursue entrepreneurship, because once your strength tells you based on the SWOT matrix that you do, if you think that I'm not meant for doing a job, but I can do a better job doing something else, maybe within the IT industry, maybe without outside the IT industry, or you get a very great product idea that you want to take it forward, this is a good time to pursue entrepreneurship, because even customers are looking for innovative creative solutions, innovative products in the marketplace that comes at good cost. So there will be a lot of encouragement for entrepreneurship startups that you will see in the coming days.